Well, trust me when I tell you that Howie Roseman will turn over every stone to make this team a better team. And I've always said I thought Howie did a better job of bringing in proven players from other teams than he did in terms of drafting and cultivating. And that's not just on Howie, that's on the entire organization from the coaching staff up. But I just thought they do a much better job of bringing those players in. So yes, you know, they sent people down a few weeks ago to Houston to do their own investigation of Deshaun Watson. And after the day's ruling, you know, some people told me, said, see, we told you he didn't do anything wrong, which means the Eagles are still in play in terms of inquiring about Deshaun. Now, what would it take to get him here? That remains to be seen.
Welcome back, National Football Show. Your boy Dan Sileo. Derrick Gunn will join us here in a couple minutes. By the way, I want to make sure something, all seriousness here. No shade on Jalen Hurts here. No shade. If you put Aaron Rodgers on the market, or say you put Russell Wilson on the market, I don't care who you have in your building, you'll take that upgrade. If you could treat Bobby Wagner, think of this for a second here. Nobody's throwing shade on Jalen here when we talk about this potential deal here for Philly. But if you could treat Bobby Wagner the way that Seattle did, they didn't even inform him, a legendary player in Seattle, that he was cut. Nobody had the courtesy to pick the phone up. He found out on social media that he was cut. That's the NFL, my friends. Like it or not. That's how the league works. Very few guys have very good divorces. It don't work that way. Very few guys can walk out and bow out. Hey, thank you very much, man. How many divorces have you ever seen in your life that ended well? Right? By the way, I'm a huge fan of Derrick Gunn. I watched him the entire year when he was doing the post-game show for JAKIB Media. And Barrett Brooks said, the most plugged-in guy, and I am very privileged to bring him aboard the program now. And thank you so much for this, Derrick. I really appreciate you stepping in with us. I can't wait to hear your spin on this.
Look, I'm just a little hurt that it took me this long to get on the Dan Sileo show. You've had Barrett on like 40, 50 times, but D Gunn just gets neglected. I don't get it. I mean,
no, hey, I'll take my last.
Is it my deodorant or lack thereof or what?
Man, I'll take my lashes on this, because guess what he did too, folks? And because I'm a tool here, so Derrick follows me, and I go, okay, this guy's gonna kill me, man, when I get him on, because I immediately had to follow him back, and I said, then I had to go. And by the way, you notice it took a couple days for me to get the backbone to send a message to you. Ain't working with you, though, is it?
That's wrong on so many levels. I'm not buying it. I'm deeply hurt. But the bigger me said, you know what? I love the work Dan's doing. You know, you and I know Joe Krause well, and I tell Joe all the time. I said, you know, I love how Dan goes about his business. I love his insight as a former player. I love his perspective, but you know, I don't like him as a person until he changes my opinion otherwise.
Dude, I love it, man. Thank you so much, man. Hey, listen, you've been around the team. You know the NFL. Derrick, I'm not throwing shade on Jalen. Every single department that is looking at their quarterback and questioning that position is going to look at what happened today. And if you have the assets like the Eagles do you not at least call Nick Caserio and have a conversation about Deshaun Watson if you're Howie Roseman?
Well, trust me when I tell you that Howie Roseman will turn over every stone to make this team a better team. And I've always said I thought Howie did a better job of bringing in proven players from other teams than he did in terms of drafting and cultivating. And that's not just on Howie. That's on the entire organization from the coaching staff up. But I just thought they do a much better job of bringing those players in. So, yes, you know, they sent people down a few weeks ago to Houston to do their own investigation of Deshaun Watson. And after the day's ruling, you know, some people told me, said, see, we told you he didn't do anything wrong, which means the Eagles are still in play in terms of inquiring about Deshaun. Now, what would it take to get him here? That remains to be seen. The Eagles happen to be in a very rare situation where you have 3 first-round draft picks, man. As you know, that doesn't happen often. That comes around once in a millennium, you know. So they have to be very wise about this because this is a team that's been trying to get younger as well as getting better. Now, Howie had a great draft last year, and you're in a position to get 3 of the first 19 players off the board this year. To enhance that, if you stay where you are with those picks, it's imperative you get at least 2 impact starters out of the 3. That third one can be a significant role player, whoever it is, but you better get yourself at least 2 impact starters out of that. So to go back to your initial statement, yes, the Eagles are still inquiring about Deshaun Watson, what it would take to get him here in Philadelphia. Doesn't mean they're going to pull it off, but, you know, I love the fact that this organization doesn't sit still. They're always trying to make this organization better.
And we learned that the other day from Jay Glazer, right, Derek? I mean, they had a deal on the table for Calvin Ridley, and even how he made the comment the other day, look, we got to do some gambling. And I agree with you. Very seldom do the stars line up like you're talking Haley's Comet here where you're $30 million under the cap. You've got 11 picks. You've got 3 ones here. And where I'm looking at the NFC now, I would say let's do what Seth Joyner wants to do and build in the draft. But, Derek, look at what that move with Russell Wilson now going to the AFC. Who are the best quarterbacks in the NFC right now? I mean, we're talking Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers. Kyler Murray maybe. But then all of a sudden it starts falling off. Dak, you're starting to get closer to Jalen. You put a guy like Deshaun Watson on the Philadelphia Eagles, they win the division, and they're in the conversation to go to the conference championship game. Do you agree?
I agree that they probably win the division. Getting to the conference championship game, to me, depends on what they do with the defense. They have a lot of issues still on that defense. I mean, you know, now the rumors out there that they've been marketing Fletcher Cox. You know, they love this kid, Milton Williams. It depends on how much they love him, what they could get in return for Fletcher Cox. But you got 2 great D tackles right now in Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox. You know, they need another edge rusher. My boy Brandon Graham is coming back. He told me recently he can't wait to get back out there. You need another young DN to groom on the other side, or if you can finagle it, get yourself a proven DN. I wouldn't say go out and get the highest market DN, but you can sit back and wait until the feeding frenzy dies down after the first few days and pick off a decent DN that can help you out for at least a year or so. But they would be right there in the discussion, you know, in terms of winning the division and making some noise in the playoffs. This was a team that shocked the world and backed into the playoffs in 2021, you know, when they added an extra seeding. I didn't think either Pittsburgh or the Eagles should have been in the playoffs, and it showed in their play when they got to the playoffs. You know, they just weren't ready. But, man, the valuable experience those young guys got from just being in a playoff situation. And, you know, I don't have to tell you this. If you're one of the chosen few to play in the fraternity of the NFL, I don't care how little you make or how much you make, you've given your heart and soul to get to this level, to fulfill that dream your whole life, then that should be an albatross on your shoulder in terms of how you got embarrassed in the playoff. You want to come back stronger. You want to come back better. So you got a great nucleus. So if you could add to that, no question about it, it will make this team that much better. And I think offensively, they do need another receiver, no question about it. And I'm not sold on Devonta Smith as a 1. I don't think he's a 1. And obviously when the story came out from Jay Glazer that they were interested in Calvin Ridley, that just verified what I've been thinking for a long time and said on a number of platforms. You get Calvin Ridley, he's your 1. Devonta is an incredible number 2, you know, and you know, you got 2 great receivers there. So this is a team, you get a Deshaun Watson, man. Oh, are you kidding me? You're right. You're going to make some noise. All the young guns, all the young up-and-coming guns as far as quarterbacks are over in the AFC now. Washington's got Carson Wentz. Really? And then the story comes out again about him being a negative more in the – if Frank Reich gives up on Carson Wentz after 1 year, what does that tell you about Carson Wentz? Some of that stuff has to be true about being a bad teammate, bad leader, selfish player, so on and so forth. When we saw it here in Philadelphia, we said, okay, maybe there was something to it. But then now year number 2, writers out of Indianapolis are saying the same thing. So look at the quarterback stacked up in the division. Giants don't have a quarterback. Washington has Carson Wentz. Dak Prescott is a good manager of a game. I don't think he's an elite quarterback. So, yeah, you had a great chance of winning the division and then flip the coin and see what happens after that.
I got to tell you, too, a move that Howie, because if Howie goes after Calvin Ridley, Derek, how about this? When the Cowboys got Amari Cooper, Dak Prescott does not get that contract unless he has Amari Cooper on that team, because it transformed him into being a big numbers quarterback, and that's what really became the shiny nickel in Dallas for me. You bring a guy like Amari Cooper in right now, you also do this. Hey, Deshaun, Amari Cooper, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and even if that doesn't pan out, Derek, what you've done is you may get an elevated play with Jalen Hurts, because Jalen would be hoping you did the same thing for Dak that you did for me, and you moved me closer to Dak. That means I'm in the discussion to win the division. Am I right in that kind of plan?
No question about it. But the biggest caveat is, how much will Jalen improve in his overall mechanics in 2022?
Correct.
I don't think we will ever confuse Jalen Hurts with being an elite quarterback. He can be an efficient quarterback. I think he's a great athlete playing quarterback in the National Football League. I don't know if he'll ever elevate his game to being considered one of the top 10, 15 quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't think that's going to happen. But he can be serviceable at least for another year if you improve his surroundings around him. You give him an Amari Cooper or Calvin Ridley to go along with what you have, makes him better. Now, I don't think his deep ball is going to get any better, but I think he can get much more efficient in the intermediate passing game. He missed a lot of wide open targets in 2021. I can't even tell you how many times he missed Dallas Goedert wide open in the flats in 2021. And if you can get him to stop being a little bit too skittish in terms of taking off and running a little bit too soon sometimes, if the coaching staff can hone him in and improve, I think you can do a lot of, you can do a lot of damage. You can win a lot of games with a Jalen Hurts. Is he your long-term solution? No. But if you feel like you don't want to spend the asset and the capitals on a Deshaun Watson right now, and maybe put yourself in a position to draft, hopefully from a better draft class in 2023, that's the road to hope. You got your nucleus, you got your guys in the playoffs, you can be competitive. Just improve on defense, get a little better at the wide receiver position, and you can be a very good team in the NFC.
Derek, my boy Jerome Brown, God rest his soul, man. He loved the city of Philadelphia, and he says it's a tolerant city. And I'm kind of friends now with Vic, even though I'm an animal guy. My wife never will forgive him, but you know what she loves about Vic is that Vic's trying to improve his life, and I give him all credit for trying to turn his life around. And I'm a fan of Michael Vick moving forward as a man. You think the city of Philadelphia would be able to also embrace a guy like Watson, even with some of the dents in the fender that we've gone through this last year? Do you think that that's the city that maybe could really sustain that and absorb what some of the national media are going to say about him?
Initially, you would have a faction of people that would protest Deshaun Watson coming here, the same way they did when Michael Vick came here. You know what turns that around? Winning immediately. You start putting up W's. You start putting up W's right out of the gate in 2022. All of a sudden, he's our guy. Deshaun Watson, we're so glad he's here. Yeah, I mean, Philadelphia is an either-or city, man. They either love you or they don't. And it changes week to week. They can hate you one week and love you the next week, depending on what you do. But Philadelphians and us, they're passionate. They're very knowledgeable. They wear their emotions on their sleeve. Philadelphia, to me, is a city. It's like in a family. You can argue with your brothers and sisters all day long. You can talk about them like a dog, but nobody on the outside looking in had better talk about your family. You got a fight on your hands. That's Philadelphia, man. And that's what I love about these people. They're going to call it like they see it. Now, they may not agree with you. You may not agree with them all the time, but they're going to call it like they see it every day. And it takes a person with thick skin in terms of an athlete to survive in Philadelphia. I think what a Deshaun Watson has gone through and may have to continue to go through for the remainder of this year. I don't know him. I know very little about him, but I think he has thick enough skin to survive the negativisms and win these people over in a hurry.
You know, and Derrick, I don't think it's – see, you know that agents send out misinformation, and we're in the land of misinformation right now. Hey, what was it? A week ago, Pete Carroll was like this. We have no intention of moving Russell Wilson. All of a sudden, we're going 2 1s, 2 2s, 3 players. You're like, well, wait, that just didn't happen over drinks. Right. That has been something that has been working on. So, I mean, you look at where this organization is right now. I'm just wondering again, does Howie have – I'm going to use a word, chutzpah, to push all 3 first-rounders in for this?
Wow. If you do that, you have to take into consideration, the league still has not ruled in how many games he could possibly sit out. Would the fan base be patient enough to watch this team perform in 2022 with Deshaun, let's say, out 8 games? And if they start out 2-6, 1-7, and then all of a sudden your season's over and he comes in and he's basically playing for 2023, how would that be received? It depends on what this organization perceives as the immediate plan compared to the long-range plan. Can we bite the bullet? Going into 2021, Jeffrey Lurie told us 2021 was a transition year, which we read into it being a rebuilding or retooling, however you wanted to call it. And it was. This team, they beat up on the weak sisters in the NFL, and, they got taught a lesson by some of the better teams in the National Football League. So now that you've gone through that, what do you want 2022 to be? Are you willing to give up 3 first-round picks and may not have that capital to build again with the youth movement that a lot of teams go on every 3 or 4 years? Are you willing to take that risk and put all the eggs in one basket into your quarterback and weathering the storm in 2022, and hopefully the day is much brighter in 2023? That remains to be seen. But the fact that they're still in the discussion, they're still interested in Deshaun, tells me that even though we still are in a dark area in terms of knowing how long Deshaun could get suspended, and I think you and I agree he's going to be suspended, X amount of games. Players have been suspended for less. So even though he has been cleared of all wrongdoing as of today, he's still going to be reprimanded by the league. Are you willing to take that risk that 2022 could be another wait-and-see year, even with knowing that Deshaun could be there for the latter half of the season?
I will say this, though, Derrick, just a little bit on that, though. You know what really bugged me about this whole story was how the league, and like you said, man, Calvin Ridley's going to spend more time suspended for gambling on $1,500 than Deshaun most likely will spend on this case here, or the behavior on what Troy Vincent and the commissioner come down on. Why wouldn't the Players Association, the Texans, or maybe not the Texans, but the new team and the agent go like this? Well, he sat out the whole last year. It was basically a retro suspension. And what made that really funny, Derrick, was that they paid him and he was inactive. He was active every single day. It was almost like the league didn't want to hurt the Texans' value of the player. Well, if that's the case, well, okay, what are we talking about here on really suspension? What so much is conduct that we don't know that the district attorney didn't have enough evidence for us to say that he committed a crime? Does it look awful? Absolutely. Did they clear him? Yeah, because kind of they said this. Well, we didn't have enough evidence. But that's lawyer talk, Derrick. He may have been, Lonzo Harris, I say this everyone, my favorite fictional cops of all time from Training Day. It's not what you know, it's what you can prove.
That's right.
And I'm like this, I'm like, I don't know if they're really going to put a big suspension on him, because they're going to look at last year and it was a retro suspension. I do think he's getting something, but I don't think it's going to be the lengthy suspension, or that wouldn't they avoided the contract, Derrick, and went in all of our contracts, conduct detrimental. They could have avoided that $180 million contract at any time.
That's true.
Anytime.
I think the league had that. But I think the league had to sit back and wait until all the facts were compiled. And basically it took the whole year to do that for them. I mean, as you know, I don't have to tell you this. Anytime you're talking about sexual assault, That's a very touchy topic, man. And the NFL has had too many black eyes in recent years in terms of how they dealt with situations, i.e., a lack of black head coaches in the National Football League. You look at the Ray Rice situation, from Baltimore years ago. And I know the league is sitting back thinking, we have to wait until we have all the facts. I mean, go back to Ben Roethlisberger. He was even in a similar situation. Okay. Right. He had a couple of sexual assault allegations out there against him.
6 games, Derek?
I believe it was a 6-game suspension.
I think it was 6, right?
So,
and
I mean,
12. And it went, and then they cut it down to 6.
And they reduced it. Yeah.
They reduced
it. And so that's why I said I could see Deshaun getting 6 or 8 games based on the recent history of the National Football League and how they've been left with egg on their faces in a lot of situations. It would have surprised me if he started at 6 and got it reduced to 4, maybe even 3. No. But I think it's going to start out bigger. And then as as they get closer to the season, look at the situation, and more information comes out between now and the time training camp comes around or the start of the NFL season, I think they'll make an even more definitive ruling at that time.
Let's go over to the defense. A couple last questions for you here. How about we take the quarterback conversation out? I talked to Seth Joyner yesterday, and Seth.
Wait. So you've had Seth on also? So you've had Barrett Brooks. Now, I understand they're former NFL players. I get that. Okay, I'm going to let this slide. You've had Barrett Brooks on. You've had Seth on. And I'm not saying I'm in their category. I'm not saying, but it's okay. It's all right, though. But, okay, now my emotions have been put to rest.
I'm being shamed here. I'm being I'm being shamed here, man. I love it. Hey, wait a minute. Mike Quick, Gary Cobb, blasphemy, D-Gun. That's from Xander.
What? Xander, I'll be calling you after I get off of here. I'll be giving you a call.
Oh, my God. Hey, Derek, edge rusher, biggest need, you think?
I think so. I think they're done with Derek Barnett. The story came out, rumor, whatever you want to call it, that they have interest in Chandler Jones. Chandler Jones is 32, almost 33, but can be effective. Again, do you get a Chandler Jones or somebody the equivalent of on a low tier veteran salary, still draft a young upcoming defensive end, have the likes of a Brandon Graham, Chandler Jones, groom a young guy to take over in 2023. But I do think in a league where edge rushers are at a premium, in the National Football League, I do think you need to find that edge rusher that can complement a Brandon Graham. And as much as I love Brandon Graham, as you know, once you've had an Achilles injury at the age of 33,
oh yeah, it's over.
It's not the same anymore. So you've got to take that into consideration. You might need 2 edge rushers, and because Jonathan Gannon doesn't blitz a whole lot, you need your front 4 to be able to get home. Now, if they do keep Fletcher Cox, again, along with Javon Hargrave, and you got the young kid Milton Williams, you got a great trio of interior D tackles to get that the interior push. But you need those speed merchants coming off the edge, man. And so, yes, I do think I don't know if you'd agree or disagree, but I think if you have a pretty good pass rush, it disguises a lot of deficiencies you might have on the back end, from the linebackers to the corners to the safeties.
Absolutely, man. I'm trying to make amends here, and you mentioned grooming. I could always send you a Manscaped weed whacker if you.
Yeah, hey, there you go. Send me a couple of those, man. I got a son-in-law. Send me a couple of those, man, if you want to appease me.
Hey, man, this has been a lot of fun, man. I hope you'll do this again, man. I've heard so much, and Barrett goes like this today. By the way, I'm going to tell him on Monday you're going to slap the shit out of him when you see him.
I talked to Barrett. Barrett and I talk a couple times a week, man, and the conversations we have.
I love him.
Like, man, you know what? He's an imposing figure, but he is the nicest 6'5", 340-pound person you could ever want to meet. He had a heart of gold, very generous. Just to tell you a quick story that I tell all the time, when people I worked with in Philadelphia, they always say, "Hey, man, how come you never invite us over for a cookout or anything?" And I always say, "Look, man, my home is like church and state. I keep work and home separate." And somehow Barrett found a way to backdoor me and get close to my family. My grown kids refer to him as Uncle Barrett. I'm still trying to figure out how this happened. Okay. My wife loves Barrett Brooks. I'm still trying to figure out how this happens, and I'm giving Barrett too many accolades. Dang it. But no, seriously, I love the guy. He's a great guy. You couldn't ask for better people.
So it's the wife I have to get close to in the family.
All right, man. Yeah, I gave you a tip. Man,
you're going to have to help me. Derrick, we got to do this again, man.
Hey, bro, anytime you need me on, I understand I'll be number 27 on your pecking order, but I'm here, brother. I'm always here.
I'm going to take the lashes on this because I deserve it. Thank you, Derrick. I appreciate it, my friend.
Man, you take care, brother, and I keep listening to you. Keep doing what you do, brother. I love what you do.
Thank you, sir, so much. It's an honor to have you on there. All right, man. Hit the like button. We'll respond to all that. Keep it right here on the National Football Show.